Only the strongest, brightest, and best equipped stand a chance in nature's relentless battle. Survival demands an edge, a skill, or talent unmatched and unexpected. Who are the elite core of the animal world, born for action and gifted by nature with super senses? Follow as we search out the best soldiers in their class, shaped by millions of years of evolution. To qualify for Special Forces. Off the northeast coast of North America lurks an ancient destroyer, 400 years in the making. A killer who's had plenty of time to get it right. Great white shark. An elite core out of more than 500 species of sharks, the 2,300-kilogram great white is legendary for his ferocity. This Special Forces submariner devotes 70% of his brain to sniffing out his next meal. His nostrils, specialized only for sniffing and not for breathing, funnel smells to the largest olfactory organ of any true shark. The nostrils, located beneath his snout, lead to a part of the brain called the olfactory bulb. Great whites and elite core can detect 1 drop of blood in 100 liters of water and can sense even tiny amounts of blood from a long way off. He already smells dinner on the table, even from 5 kilometers away. And that's bad news for one unlucky gray seal. She escaped some sort of attack already. But her bleeding wound has marked her for death. As the shark swims, he moves his head side to side, pushing water into his nose. When the odor of blood reaches one nostril before the other, he knows that's the direction to head. These elite warriors have a one-way olfactory organ. By inhaling through one opening while exhaling through the other, these Special Forces never lose track of the scent they've locked onto. As he nears his target, the great white speeds up to 24 kilometers per hour thanks to his torpedo shape and powerful tail. He'll usually strike suddenly from below. But the injured seal makes an easy meal. Guided by his nose till the final moment, he digs in with a bite like 300 serrated steak knives. The waters of the Galapagos are a Special Forces gathering ground. The concentration of prey drives the elite core of sharks into a feeding frenzy, an insane feast where it pays to be ferocious. And among the most ferocious are the tiger sharks. Along with the great whites, tiger sharks have the biggest olfactory organs of their family. These Special Forces use that sense of smell for hunting and also defense. One of the few predators that dares to engage with the tiger shark is coming: killer whales. Working together, this elite corps targets a more convenient reef shark. But just one. Sharks can recognize an animal by the smell of its blood, and the bleeding shark warns his comrades that it's time to retreat. The shark's keen sense of smell, honed over millions of years, has helped make these fish super predators and assures their elite position at the top of the food chain. Out of the depths of the ocean and into the endless skies. An expedition to the outposts of Europe reveals one of the animal kingdom's greatest covert surveillance experts, part of an elite corps that lives everywhere except the poles. Who else but the barn owl? She can pluck small rodents entirely hidden in the grass, thanks to her super sense of hearing. Along with her ears, her whole face is fine-tuned for eavesdropping on the woodland. The ear openings are on her face, just behind the eyes. Each has a different shape, and one sits higher than the other for reconnaissance above and below. With such acute hearing, she doesn't even need to see when she hunts. Like a drone, she sweeps the ground, maybe 3 meters high, listening for the telltale sounds of her prey. Until she hears a rodent. Now it's just quick hover and strike. In true Special Forces fashion, she's silent and efficient, nailing her target more often than not. She takes the dead prey from behind enemy lines out of sight of any raptors that prey on barn owls. Her ears, tuned to the high-frequency squeaks and rustling of rodents and shrews, filter out extraneous noise. She swallows her prey whole, skin, bones, and all, and it's time for another hunt. When night falls, many animals must stop hunting, but not the Special Forces barn owl. An elite soldier, guided by her hearing, she prefers to hunt in the dark. Tiny feathers cover the owl's ear openings, and flaps of skin between the ear and the eye act as ear lids, protecting her from loud noises. You might say barn owls see the landscape with their ears. Sound creates a memory map, and even if this elite corps gets distracted, they can head right back to where they heard their prey. Her curved face, like a radar dish, helps channel the sound into the asymmetrical ears. Her downward-facing bill increases the facial surface area for collecting sounds. Owls can detect a left-right time difference of about 0.03 milliseconds, more than 10 times faster than the blink of an eye. Almost instantly, she creates a mental image of the space where the sound source is located. Her fringed wings move silently so she can listen to her surroundings and sneak up on unsuspecting prey. She dives like a kamikaze before pulling back at the last second to grab her victim with her sharp talons. She'll eat about 4 small mammals each night, or more than 1,400 per year. That's a lot of war medals for this small Special Forces hunter with an unheard-of sense of hearing. From the forest of the barn owls, we follow the rivers back to the ocean, where we're about to see great marine hunters, unless they see us first. These sharp-eyed carnivores thrive in oceans all over the world. Very familiar, yet very surprising. They're tuna, one of the largest and fastest bony fish in an elite marine corps. Some of these special forces can swim almost twice as fast as a great white shark. They owe their success mainly to their precise vision. In fact, they have the sharpest vision of any bony fish. This platoon cooperates to maximize its hunting success, keeping an eye out for whatever small fish or sea creatures wander by. Some species of this elite corps have huge eyes that grow to the size of tennis balls, allowing them to see clearly even in dark and murky waters. They encounter a school of sardines. No one's going home hungry today. They see past the distracting dazzle of the bait ball and just tear into it. These special forces circle around the prey and strike with the precision of a missile. The sardines might be more agile, but the tuna have better vision. The feeding frenzy makes it look as if the water is boiling. That's the power of the yellowfin tuna school. But let's focus on the elite talents of individual soldiers. A tuna's line of vision is directed forward and upward. Some species can discern subtle shades of blue, exposing their prey against the ocean background. Their vision is so sharp they can distinguish objects the size of a hen's egg from a distance of 30 meters. Being partially warm-blooded, this elite corps can live and hunt almost anywhere, and can tolerate extreme changes in water temperature from 27 Celsius down to 8 Celsius. Some can dive 1.5 kilometers deep. The big-eyed tuna, with a light concentrating layer of cells like glowing cat's eyes, can see in near total darkness. Their adaptability and sophisticated eyesight make tuna some of the ocean's most successful hunters. While tunas keep their sniper eyes on the ocean, another elite corps patrols the mainland. On the dry African savanna, the planet's largest land creatures have found a different way to keep in touch as they travel enormous distances. These are the African elephants. Mobilized, these special forces can travel around 12 kilometers a day on their 3,500-kilometer migration, and their story is a touching one. Built like tanks at up to 4 meters tall and 7 tons, these elite powerhouses rely on their highly developed but gentle sense of touch for gripping things and also to communicate. It's almost all about their trunks, the Swiss Army knife of the animal kingdom. Elephants experience most of their world through this flexible, muscular, yet sensitive organ. The trunk is the elephant equivalent of our nose, fused with the upper lip, but so much more. It contains some of the most sensitive tissue in the animal world. With its trunk, an elephant performs most of the day's missions, from eating to socializing. The trunk's limberness and dexterity rival our own hands. An elephant's trunk contains around 100,000 muscles divided into 6 major groups. By comparison, the entire human body only has 639 muscles. Sensitive nerves can perceive differences in the width of grooves as thin as a business card. The matriarch, the eldest and most experienced female, leads this elite corps to the waterhole where they'll put their trunks to good use. On average, an elephant drinks more than a bathtub's worth of water a day. In one slurp, they can suck up about 4 liters of water in their trunk and pour it into their mouth. This delicate motion takes practice. It might take months for a baby elephant to learn how to operate his trunk, but there's always an adult happy to help the cadet. This gentle manipulation also increases social bonds among these special forces. Journey continues. The herd has to coordinate its maneuvers, and it does that not by sound, but touch. Soft pads on the elephant's feet and tissue in the trunk can detect subtle vibrations through the ground. The vibrations travel through their skeleton to the inner ear. Using infrasound, too low for us to hear, the herd can communicate from as far as 10 kilometers, telling each member of their elite corps where to find food or helping locate a member that wandered off. But for all its sensitivity, that delicate trunk is also a power tool. A bull elephant can lift around 270 kilograms, which is useful when the trees are just too tall. The elephants simply tear them down to access the tasty leaves. Constantly in touch, using one of the strongest and most sensitive appendages in the animal kingdom, elephants are the super troopers of the savannah. On the other side of the world, in similarly dry environment, lives an agile and elite corps of assassins. All 36 species make camp in the deserts, semi-deserts, or prairies of North America and into South America. Slithering through this habitat is the rattlesnake. The very sound of it strikes terror, a warning shot before a venomous bite. But the death strike is the end of their mission. What's truly remarkable is how these special forces track their prey using taste and smell. As he serpentines across the desert, he constantly flicks his tongue. It's not just for show. He's on a fact-finding mission, collecting chemical signatures from the air. Molecules stick to his tongue, which he touches to the Jacobson's organ above his palate. The organ, like a field chemistry lab, analyzes the chemical signature. The longer the tines of a snake's tongue, the more he relies on smell. If the scent of prey is stronger on one tine than the other, he knows which direction to head. Rattlesnakes pick up scent molecules in the Jacobson's organ, which transmits an impulse from the tongue to the region of the snake's brain that identifies smells. But snakes can also smell conventionally with their nostrils, so he has two separate ways of accomplishing his prey-finding mission. The snake has picked up the scent of a kangaroo rat. Target locked. He will track her wherever she goes, waiting for the sun to go down. Once he bites and injects the venom, he lets go so the victim can scratch or bite him. It looks like the prey escaped, but the venom's doing its slow work and the mission's not aborted. The rattlesnake remains on his target's scent trail and will collect it when it dies. Some of this elite rattler corps can track their prey for more than 60 minutes. That's what qualifies this slithery tracker for membership in the Animal Special Forces. Once locked on, he'll complete his mission, thanks to his flicking tongue and the super senses of taste and smell. Leaving the parched dry lands of the American continent, we find our next Special Forces candidates in more green, wooded areas. The forests all over the world are a home to an aerial squadron that flies by night. Hidden most of the day in their caves, the elite corps emerges and the body count begins. Bats. The smaller species, called microbats, intercept insects no larger than a grain of rice, a hard target without specialized equipment. Great vision or sense of smell won't cut it on this Special Forces mission. This aerial elite relies on echolocation. They emit and receive the highest pitched sounds in the animal kingdom. These insect eaters deploy their sonar in the ultrasonic range so they can scope out their terrain entirely by sound. Most members of this elite corps produce the sonic pulses in their throats and emit them through their mouth or nose. This sound bounces off every obstacle and returns to their sensitive ears. By processing all this information, the bat is able to create a sonic map of his environment. In other words, even when it's pitch black, their sonar is pitch perfect. The hunt is on. The frequency of bat pulses usually range between 30 and 80 kilohertz. Even at its lowest, it's 10,000 hertz beyond human hearing. These high frequencies are perfect for exposing tiny targets. The slightest change in frequency tips off the bat. To avoid being temporarily deafened by the echoes of their calls, the bat's middle ear muscle contracts to separate the three bones and reduce the hearing sensitivity. The Special Forces' deadly accuracy assures that no prey is safe, not even a spider laying still in her web. At its source, a bat's echolocation signal can be louder than a jet engine. And although we can't hear a thing, it's among the loudest sounds in the animal kingdom. Loudest, and if read properly, the most precise. In China, one elite corps of bats has upped the stakes. They won't settle for just bugs and spiders. As Ricketts' big-footed bats emerge from their cave, they start to pulse their sonar at a rate of 20 calls per second and can quickly exceed 90 pulses per second. Like the shriek of a missile, the Bat Battalion's sonic sweep increases to a staggering 150 calls per second just before the Special Forces strikes its target. Their call can penetrate the water's surface, which is the point of their mission. She glides over the surface and strikes. Target secured. Mission accomplished. A tasty fish for dinner. She can consume up to half of her body weight each night. If she fails, she'll have to slow her metabolism during the day or risk becoming too weak to hunt. That doesn't happen too often in this squadron of highly skilled sonic soldiers. From the forests of Asia, we head to the interior of the world's smallest continent to meet our next elite corps of surveillance specialists. Here in the fields and forests of Australia, a secretive land mammal has an electrifying method of pursuing its prey. Raiding termite cathedrals and ant nests. The Echidna. Besides being one of the world's only egg-laying mammals, or monotremes, the Echidna has other special forces to assure its success. That conspicuous, sensitive snout hides a sticky, 17-centimeter long tongue for catching her meal. But that's just the start of it. Besides having a great sense of smell, the Echidna's snout contains receptors that can detect the slight electrical charge emitted by her prey. She tucks into the termite mound, guided by her sensitive nose, to probe for termites and their larvae and eggs. But she's had enough. Her electroreceptors aren't calibrated for dry soil. Time to find a better lunch spot. She heads to the forest. The moist soil is a much better conductor and a much better place to conduct business. It doesn't hurt that the floor of the forest is teeming with targets. The echidna's snout is formed by elongated jaw bones and is lined with olfactory nerves. Scent is so important that almost half her brain's sensory region is assigned to processing fragrances picked up through her snout and tongue. Every living creature emits slight electrical fields every time a muscle twitches or a nerve cell fires. Depending on the genus, an echidna can have between 400 and 2,000 electroreceptors in the tip of its snout. These receptors alert the hunter that her target is near. Other groups of receptors in her snout, called Merkel cells, sense movement, alerting her when she makes contact with her meal. Echidnas and elite core are the only ground-dwelling vertebrates known to have electroreceptors. Platypuses and one species of dolphin are the only other mammals with this talent. Once she locates the nest, she digs in. Before the termites realize the danger and retreat, the echidna can gorge herself. Sooner or later, however, she'll have to tear into the depths of the nest, guided by her electroreceptors. For this Special Forces soldier to get top performance out of her array of high-tech sensors, she keeps her snout tip wet with nasal secretions. The wet nose increases electrical conductivity and assures her success. And since termites try to maintain high humidity in their mouths, that only helps the echidna to pursue them like a bunker buster. Another day, another satisfying search and destroy mission for the echidna and her electrifying weapon. Leaving the Australian mainland in search of our next elite corps of specialists, we follow them to the Pacific Ocean and one of the world's most remarkable natural wonders. The Great Barrier Reef. Stretching almost 350,000 square kilometers, it's the starting and end point for an epic migration of magnificent mammals that communicate below the range of human hearing. The humpback whales. Big as school buses, these special forces live in pods of 2 to 3 or as many as 15. And they have plenty to say to each other. While bats' ultrasonic screeches are too high for us to hear, some songs of the humpback whale are too low, produced in the infrasonic range. Whales produce the loudest continuous sounds of any animal, while blue whales can be as loud as a bomb blast. Humpback whales, the second loudest, can bellow as loud as a convertible on the highway. And they can keep it up almost continuously for one full day. Their deep calls can travel through the water for hundreds of kilometers. All baleen whales, including humpbacks, are known to sing, especially during the breeding season. Adult male humpbacks produce the longest and the most complex songs. Groaning, roaring, chirping, and sighing for up to 30 minutes and stopping only to take a breath. He might repeat his song several times for more than 20 hours. Each humpback has its own vocal signature, and fellow humpbacks can recognize him by his song. The whale sends out its subsonic song below the range of human hearing. The sound waves meant for communication bounce off obstacles. Though a whale has tiny ears, it picks up the vibrations through its fat-filled jawbone. The sound gets transmitted to a seashell-shaped ear bone called a bulla, where it gets amplified. This elite corps has made its way to cold waters of Antarctica, about 5,000 kilometers away. It's time to put their communication skills to good use. Starving after the long trip, these special forces coordinate a hunting expedition. All the soldiers man their battle stations. The operation begins. One of them dives, emits the sounds, and blows bubbles to scare herring up from the depths. The rest get ready to strike the frantic herring when he herds them near. The bubble net prevents the little fishes from escaping. It's an effective technique. Since an average humpback eats 1,300 kilograms of food each day, the elite corps benefits from their low-key, acoustically coordinated attacks. It enables one of the biggest animals in the sea to survive by eating some of the smallest ones. When selecting an undersea ultrasound expert who's a team player, the humpback whale makes a sound choice. Back to Australia, where the whale's naval deployment began, we delve once again into the forest and set our sights on locating a tiny terror. In the forests of Australia live an elite corps of hunters that perfectly stands out. Most spiders use vibrations and touch through their silky webs to orient themselves during the hunt. But there is an exception. Jumping spiders rely on vision, and these ninjas see things a little differently than we do. Their mission: to close in on a target without being seen, then leap and overpower their unsuspecting prey. To pull it off, These special forces need to gauge the distance precisely. With the element of surprise, they can even take down spiders bigger than they are. It's all about depth and color perception, thanks to their wide-spaced eyes that see light across the visible spectrum and also ultraviolet. As the moon shines over the jungle, a Portia spider plans her attack. Her stealth is her strategy. See, but don't be seen. Target, a jumping green spider. But her mission's been compromised. This spider is also a jumping spider, who has the Portia spider in her sights. Since both species have excellent vision, the surprise is ruined. The Portia tries to fool the opponent, but without success. Mission aborted. She'll have to find a more suitable target. In the meantime, on the forest floor, a battle of the sexes is taking place. Peacock spiders, about the size of apple seeds, are trying to find a mate. They rely on their elite spider vision. This elite corps has 4 eyes in a row, 2 large main eyes in the center, and 2 smaller ones on each side. The side eyes sense motion, while the main eyes zero in. Thanks to layers of photoreceptor cells in their main eyes, the peacock spider can see a wide range of light. The first layer at the surface detects ultraviolet, the second detects blue, and 2 deeper layers are sensitive to green light. True to their name, male peacock spiders are colorful, and the species is rare in its ability to see red, yellow, and orange. The officer with the best moves and boldest colors wins the right to mate. Elsewhere in the forest, the Portia spider seems to have found a new target. Prey that reflects ultraviolet light usually catches her eye. She can see a broad spectrum, from UV through deep red. Today, she spies the St. Andrew's cross spider, almost twice her size. She plans her strategy. Step 1, she has to be very precise, relying on her sharp eyes to orient herself among the branches. Step 2, lock on and wait. The cross spider doesn't suspect a thing. The Portia has to be sure it stays that way. Step 3, assess distance. And strike. One venomous bite does the trick. After completing her successful mission, the Portia waits, ready for her next target to come into view. In wildlife's battles, some warriors come better equipped for the fight than others. Each of these special forces brings advanced weaponry to the front. Sharks with the ability to smell a drop of blood in 100 liters of water lock onto their targets by constantly circulating water through their ultra-sensitive olfactory organ. The barn owl doesn't rely on smell, but sound. With a face like a satellite dish tuned to the frequency of her prey, she can fly under the radar thanks to fringed wings. Tuna, the sharpshooters, trust only what they see, keeping a sharp eye out, focusing on the kill zone ahead and above them. Some can see subtle colors and small targets at 30 meters. An elephant's secret weapon is its gracefulness. With more than 150 times more muscles in their trunks than we have in our entire bodies, these enormous tanks are outfitted for assignments that require both subtlety and brute force. The rattlesnake is just as graceful, though much harder to spot, as it constantly samples the air for a scent of its supper. Its Jacobson's organ analyzes molecules on its tongue, while its nostrils sniff more conventionally. The rattlesnake can taste her target before she even sees it. And in the dead of night, no one sees bats coming, as they ping their prey with ultrasound, pulsed sounds that are loud to bats but undetectable to us. It leaves their prey no place to hide. While jumping spiders look before they leap, counting on their 8 specialized eyes, calculating their distance by their excellent 3D and color vision. The echidna, primitive in so many other ways, manages to detect electricity through hundreds or even thousands of receptors in her snout. As a backup, other cells in her snout detect movement. And humpback whales use some of the lowest frequencies in the animal kingdom to coordinate their hunts, breeding, and migration. They pick up each other's sounds not through their ears, but through their jawbone. These extraordinary talents, bestowed by nature, comprise the animal kingdom's elite corps. The oceans and rivers are a battlefield. Only the best prepared stand a fighting chance. It takes sophisticated navigation systems, fine-tuned reflexes, and high-precision detection methods that go way beyond the 5 senses. Who are the Navy SEALs, plunging the depths and storming the beaches to face down their enemies? Which warriors has evolution made worthy to become Special Forces? To assemble our SEAL team, we begin with the most promising candidates. Oceanic icons with a fierce reputation. In the waters near South Australia, prowling commandos find power in numbers. Patrolling the oceans in pods of up to 30, their name says it all. Orca, or killer whales. Graceful and elegant, strong and stealthy, these special forces are built for battle. And it's not just their size of around 6 meters that makes these cruisers close to undefeatable. Orca's super senses include sophisticated sonar to navigate, hunt, and communicate. This pod prepares to head out on its traditional migratory maneuvers toward cold waters in Antarctica. To stay on mission, these Navy SEALs emit clicks, whistles, and pulsed calls. Clicking probably helps them navigate, avoid obstacles, and pick out prey. And now's the time to use it. Target acquired, sea lions. The orcas will ping them with high-frequency sound waves and listen for the echo. It allows these special forces to strike with high precision. Target locked. Target destroyed. Let's take a look at the orca's sonar system. The echolocating killer whale uses its lips to produce a train of rapid clicks. The click trains pass through a fatty area in the skull called the melon, which focuses the sound waves. These waves are projected into water in front of the whale, then bounce off any object, including prey. The orca detects sounds through fat-filled cavities in its lower jaw, where they're sent to the ear and brain. The pod has made it to the Antarctic, where the water is colder, more nutrient-rich, and prey is more abundant. Each killer whale can keep track of its own echoes, even when feeding in a busy pod. Staying out of each other's way makes hunting more efficient, especially when there's a large pod and plenty of prey. Each click lasts less than 1 millisecond. Sound waves travel through water 4.5 times faster than they travel through air. At short distances, high, even ultrasonic clicks can reveal a target's size, shape, speed, direction, and distance. For hunting more distant prey, orcas rely on lower frequency clicks, sometimes as low as a human voice. The pod has completed its eating mission today. The killer whale special forces now mobilize to a new undisclosed location where they'll repeat their tactics tomorrow on another unsuspecting prey. To find our next Navy SEAL team recruits, we depart the salty ocean and travel through river deltas to freshwater streams. This is the arena for an annual life and death contest. In America's Pacific Northwest, salmon return from the depths of the ocean to spawn in the rivers. They find their way by using one of the most precise homing systems in the animal kingdom. But these super senses don't make their mission easy. Besides contending with hungry bears, these special forces fight against the current the entire way, leaping over jagged rocks and up steep waterfalls to arrive at exactly the same spot where they were born. What mysterious force drives these Navy SEALs like a compass to reach their birth site? Magnetism. They memorize the magnetic field of their birthplace like a secret password. Though they travel thousands of kilometers into the sea as adults, their magnetic key admits these fish back into headquarters when the time comes. These soldiers begin training at a young age, hatching in the same part of the river as their parents and ancestors. They stay here in fresh water from 1 to 4 years, depending on their species, eating and growing. All the while, the magnetic field of the area has been imprinted on them. As they reach adulthood, their mission becomes clear. Nature gives these special forces their marching orders to deploy into the ocean. To gear up for their mission, they must change their metabolism from freshwater to saltwater. A remarkable transformation for this massive fleet of salmon about to embark on their first real voyage. Over the next year or more, these Navy SEALs will be stationed in the open ocean, thousands of kilometers from their birthplace, until the day they receive new orders. The migration begins, back to their exact birth spot, retracing the route that led them to the ocean. A salmon's sense of direction guides the fish to find the magnetic field lines of its birthplace. This sense is coded in salmon's tissues. A portion of its head, called the olfactory rosette, contains cells with microscopic magnetite that act like individual compass needles. The cells constantly draw the salmon to its goal by following the Earth's magnetic field lines. This coding takes time and open space to develop. Salmon raised in hatcheries surrounded by metal, wires, and electric currents never develop the sense of direction and get lost at sea. But wild salmon never forget their mission to return to their spawning sites to start the next generation. In doing so, they transform back from salt to fresh water. After their exhausting journey, these spawning special forces stop feeding as soon as they reach fresh water. But their mission's far from complete. Males must fight for females. Many don't make it. By some estimates, only about 5% of the Navy SEAL team returning from the sea actually spawn successfully. And for some species, even those that complete their mission and spawn die right after mating. It's a steep price, but that's the nature of this SEAL team's mission and heroic gesture to assure the continuation of their species. Just as salmon use the Earth's magnetic field to fulfill their destiny, a far stranger creature taps a different invisible force to fill its belly. This next Navy SEAL also patrols rivers and streams, but is literally half a world away from the Pacific Northwest. We travel to the fresh waters of Australia to find a special forces creature that's unlike any other, and yet similar to so many. Part duck, part beaver, a venomous egg-laying, water-dwelling mammal. That's a platypus. It hunts for fish, mollusks, shrimp, and larvae, but it doesn't use sight or smell to find them. In fact, when it dives, it closes its eyes, ears, and nose. His super sense is electroreception. He can feel the power of his prey and head for it. By sweeping his head side to side, receptors on his bill scan the water for the tingle of his potential lunch. Platypuses don't just sense electric fields, they can tell precisely which direction they're coming from. But besides electroreceptors, the bill is also loaded with mechanoreceptors that are sensitive to touch. So as the platypus sweeps the stream bed with his bill, he's able to identify what he's touching and whether it's alive or not. Living things generate tiny electric currents when they contract their muscles, and this Navy SEAL can detect those currents and know he's found prey. Each dive lasts only about 2 minutes, then he has to come up for air. The platypus uses the difference between arrival times of 2 signals to sense distance and location of his prey. His bill contains around 40,000 electrical receptors and 60,000 mechanical receptors. By comparing the 2 kinds of input, the platypus can form a mental picture of his surroundings and zero in on its prey with tremendous accuracy. Like a true Navy SEAL, he's an air-breathing, land-dwelling mammal, but he's at his most graceful and efficient underwater. He has to be, because that's where he hunts. With his eyes and nose sealed shut, he needs to cover a lot of ground with his sensitive beak to flush out his prey from the river bottom. He hunts exclusively underwater because those tiny electric currents travel more easily through water than air. Even though he's a strict carnivore, he has no teeth. While he's raking the bottom for larvae and snails, he's also picking up pebbles. When he gets a beakful, he'll surface and use the pebbles in his beak to mash up his prey before he swallows it. Once the platypus is done foraging, he'll return to headquarters, a den he's dug into the side of the riverbed. These special forces are territorial. Males have poisonous spurs on their back legs they use against predators and rivals. But platypuses mostly try to stay out of each other's way. They share their super sense for tracing electric currents with only two other mammals: the echidna, which is the planet's only other egg-laying mammal, and a species of dolphin. When his mission's completed and he's eaten his fill, this Navy SEAL will go on shore leave to rest a while. We don't have to go far to find our next Navy SEAL recruit. We just need to follow the water until it grows still. In swamps, streams, ponds, or puddles all over the world, you'll find them. Tiny creatures with a talent that any sailor would envy. Here, in an ordinary European pond, hundreds of special forces gather, performing a miracle they simply take in stride. Whatever you call them, water striders, pond skaters, or water bugs, these insects can walk on water. It has to do with weight distribution. Its middle and hind legs can be more than twice the length of its body. It uses the middle pair for propulsion and the hind pair for steering. Fine water-resistant hairs on their feet trap air and help these Navy SEALs skate on the surface. Evolution has provided these mariners with benefits that military robot designers hope to mimic. These special forces can even weather high seas. These minuscule naval captains remain virtually unsinkable. Their legs, more buoyant than duck feathers, can support 15 times the bug's weight without sinking. But this is no leisure cruise. These bugs are on a mission, and they need to know how to navigate, reading the water to find food and avoid danger. With their short front legs, they capture insects that fall onto the water's surface. In crowded conditions, they might even dine on each other. Determining friend from foe depends on interpreting vibrations on the water's surface. A struggling insect kicks up a lot of chaotic ripples, telling the water strider that lunch is ready. They prefer live prey, though any port in a storm. These Navy SEALs enjoy a liquid diet. They puncture their prey, inject enzymes that liquefy the organs, and then suck out the juice. They get most of the fluid they need from the bugs they eat. Struggling prey is one thing, but water striders can send out good vibrations of their own. Especially when it's time to find a mate. Males know how to communicate their intentions. By slowly sweeping their forelegs through the water, these special forces create a series of regular waves that travel about a meter. It's like a semaphore signal to catch a female's attention. The males make high-frequency ripple signals by shaking their forelegs up and down. The vibrations not only attract females, they alert other males in the area. So the ripples can be used to define a bug's territory, find food, or to warn other males away from a female who's already spoken for. This pair has found each other and are completing their mission to mate. The couple will stay bunkmates for the whole mating season. That's how the male makes sure that his genes and not a rival's get passed on. It must be effective. These elite water-walking micro-mariners thrive on freshwater surfaces all over the world. From a calm surface of lakes and streams, we travel to the margins of the rolling sea to assess the powers of a Navy SEAL that's half aquatic, half terrestrial. In the waters and sandy beaches of Indonesia, a well-armored Marine puts his superb senses into action. The hermit crab. Despite the name, hermit crabs are more closely related to lobsters than crabs. Lacking a hard shell of their own, these masters of disguise make camp in the abandoned shells of others. Most hermit crab species spend their entire lives underwater, but a few special forces conquered the land and evolved equipment to do it. Hermit crabs experience the world mainly through their antennae. It's a tactic they share with all other crustaceans. The coconut crab, a subspecies of hermit crab that can stretch 1 meter from leg to leg, uses its antennae to sniff out food from up to 50 meters away. While some of its antennae work like feelers, the first pair of antennae between the eyes are coated with hairs sensitive to scent chemicals. They serve these Navy SEALs as super sniffers underwater and on the beach, but they work in different ways on land and at sea. Though these special forces possess other senses, they depend mainly on their fine-tuned antennae. And this information is what keeps him alert to danger so that he can hide in time. But how do these super senses work? Underwater, hermit crabs sniff by flicking their antennae back and forth, trapping fluid in the spaces between hairs. By adjusting the speed and direction of their antennae, they can either collect a new water sample or hang on to an old one, buying enough time to thoroughly analyze it. A large part of the hermit crab's brain is dedicated to processing the scents and tastes that their antennae pick up. This one has detected dead fish, a welcome change from his usual filter feeding on the sand. But sniffing out food isn't as important as locking onto the scent of a dead hermit crab. In fact, their ability to detect a deceased comrade is 10 times stronger than their skill at smelling a potential meal. That's because a dead hermit crab means a new shell is available, and this hermit crab is hoping to occupy it. These special forces have to find larger shells as they grow. But the competition is fierce, so they have to fight for it. The biggest fighter wins the prize, but his vacated shell won't go to waste as another crab moves in. On the beach, crabs sniff in a different way. They flick their antennae too, but unlike marine crabs, these Navy SEALs pick up scents from the air flowing around the antennae, rather than between the hairs. And the more humid the air, the more keen their sense of smell. They also have a sharp fragrance memory. To reduce conflicts with other hermit crabs, these special forces remember each other's odor. Once two hermits have clashed, they avoid each other. After this Navy SEAL learned who outranked him, he'll set out to find a new beachhead to claim as his own. For our next Navy SEAL candidate, we leave the beaches of Indonesia and travel across the Indian Ocean. We emerge on an island off Africa's east coast, a peculiar place large enough to be the Earth's unofficial 8th continent. On the shores of Madagascar, though also found in Southeast Asia and Australia, lives a small fish with a very big difference, the proverbial fish out of water. Among the mangrove trees hops the Mudskipper. These amphibious fish spend up to 90% of their day on salty mudflats, special forces looking to eat small bugs and crustaceans. While their ability to breathe in and out of water is remarkable enough, their super sense eyesight adds to their Navy SEAL skills. Their eyes have to adjust to see in two worlds because a Mudskipper's eyes are on turrets. He can raise and lower them like a periscope. Since this Navy SEAL needs to avoid enemies in the surf and on the sand, he'd better keep a sharp eye out. Though the Mudskipper isn't very large, his bulbous eyes have more light and color receptors than many predatory fish. But there's a compromise. Because he spends most of his time out of the water, his eyes are flatter than normal fish eyes, so he can see better in the air than underwater. This one's patrolling the coast of Southeast Asia. And though he doesn't have eyelids or tear ducts, he's the only fish that can blink, dipping his eyes into a pouch to keep them moist. As As these special forces sweep the sand for their meals, they seem totally in control. Ferociously pursuing and terrorizing small prey. But these 12-centimeter beach bullies waste no time retreating from the beachhead when they spy a bigger foe. Their rotating eyes work independently. Facing front, their vision overlaps, creating a field of stereo vision about 15 degrees wide. Each eye can also look behind, creating two 180-degree fields on each side and also above and below. They can move their eyes up and down and side to side without ever having to rotate their head. That's a great advantage over other fish eyes because a Navy SEAL never knows where its enemies are coming from. The ever-vigilant skipper knows when it's time to hit the bunker. When the coast is clear, another highly visible adventure begins. This male is looking for a mate, and that means he has to be seen. Leaping advertises his virility, but he faces competition. Though the rivals manage the occasional body slam, the goal is to intimidate, not to wound. Again, it's all about visuals. Whoever looks more frightening wins the mate. The loser has to look for love in a different territory. For now, this Navy SEAL's retreating to the water. Leaving the sweltering heat of the beaches of Southeast Asia, we search for our next Navy SEAL recruits in the mercilessly cold waters up north. These Special Forces raiders live along the coast of the Pacific Ocean in North America and also in Asia and Europe. This particular family thrives near the coast of Alaska's Prince William Sound. Sea otters. While mudskippers are fish that live mainly on land, sea otters are mammals that live mostly in the water. Aside from being resistant to cold, sea otters are very sensitive, especially when it comes to their super sense of touch. Since these special forces hunt in the water and have to hold their breath, they can't rely on their sense of smell. So they probe for their prey using the whiskers around their mouths. They also have dexterous forelimbs for handling their food. When he's not floating on the water's surface, this Navy SEAL is diving to the bottom to look for sea urchins and shellfish. But his eyes are almost useless down there. The dark and murky water can make hunting a shot in the dark. So he must find his food by feeling for it. His sense of touch is so sensitive, he can tell a mussel from a clam. And he can hold his breath for up to 5 minutes. flaps automatically seal his ears and nostrils from the water, leaving only the whiskers to guide the way. The sea otter is the only marine animal able to move rocks around, picking them up or knocking them away with his forelimbs. The sea otter can identify prey simply by brushing it with its sensitive whiskers or vibrissae. Its face sports an array of about 120 of them. By comparison, a cat has only about 24. The whiskers are arranged in an orderly pattern, and each is attached to elastic tissues and nerves, transporting the tactile information to the brain. Thanks to his high-tech whiskers, catching prey might be the easy part. The real work comes in trying to open their armored meal. That requires another SEAL training tactic: tool use. The otter uses rocks to pry its prey from the ocean bottom and to crack open its shell. Usually by placing the prey on its chest and pounding it with a rock. The sea otter then enjoys its meal, lounging on its back in the sea. They even sleep in that position. Not many other animals are so handy. These special forces are the only marine mammals that grab their food with their forelimbs rather than their teeth. Sea otters are social animals, and by growing up in groups and learning together, they form a truly solid SEAL team. Tool use, tactile sensitivity, and their semi-amphibious lifestyle make sea otters the perfect candidates for nature's Navy SEALs. Our next elite SEAL team candidate is an expert at sending coded messages. He patrols the freshwater swamps of North America, and the future of his line depends on his success. The Everglades National Park in Florida is home to a Special Forces warrior with super senses, practically perfected by evolution. Resting on the banks or cruising the waters are the alligators. Almost unchanged for millions of years, these social reptiles have mastered strategies for survival and reproduction. When it comes to courtship, these Navy SEALs strike all the right notes. When it's time to mate, males telegraph the message by producing infrasonic vibrations. Female gators are tuned into their frequency, ready to respond. Like any good relationship, communication is the key. These special forces camp out in close proximity to one another, but they like to keep to themselves. To establish their boundaries, gators of both sexes bellow or roar. But mating time calls for a different technique, a secret signal designed to travel far and which is almost undetectable to us. Besides loud bellowing, in the water, male alligators vibrate their flanks, sending the water and subsonic sound waves into motion. The signal travels far and wide to anyone with the super senses to detect it. These advertisement calls are an invitation to far-ranging females to come and mate. And even if we can't hear them, we can see them. In courtship season, one Navy SEAL's bellow can trigger others. A male bellows, a female bellows in response. Others join in, spreading the message for hundreds of meters. Female bellowing isn't as loud as males, and they don't produce infrasound. The Special Forces suitors usually compete peaceably with one another, but not always. The female picks up the signal and heads toward its source, responding with calls of her own. The male's bellow can be as loud as the deck of an aircraft carrier, but at the bottom range of human hearing, so we can't hear it. The vibration can spread up to 1.5 kilometers. Females feel it rather than hear it. They pick it up with the part of the ear that's more closely associated with balance rather than sound. These Navy SEALs court by sight and sound. What female alligator wouldn't be impressed by a guy who can make the water dance? Without making a sound, at least a sound that we can hear, the male has talked the female into mating with him. She may have walked and swam a long way to meet him, but she won't be his only partner. All this effort in finding one another seems rather complex compared to the act of mating itself, which lasts only about 30 seconds. When they're done, the female will retreat to her nest, lay her eggs, and take care of her young. Such is the power of this Navy SEAL's top secret signal that passes life from one generation to the next. Life began in the water, and for some special forces, it remains the ultimate evolutionary proving ground, pushing them beyond the normal limits. Highly adapted to their habitat, they become the Navy SEALs. Orcas use infrasonic signals to dominate their domain. Their click trains bounce off and lock onto potential prey. Salmon memorize the Earth's magnetic field to orient themselves thousands of miles from their home base. Platypuses tap into the tiny electric field of their prey in the murky waters. The current generated by a muscle twitch is all it takes. Whereas water striders read the vibrations of the water they walk upon. At a distance, their legs can distinguish between friend, foe, and food. Hermit crabs sample the air with their finely tuned antennae, steering clear of rival crabs and sniffing out molecules of potential meals in the humid seaside air. Mudskippers, always on alert for enemies on land, sea, and air, keep an eye out in all directions, ready to dash to safety. Sea otters hunt blind. When they dive for food, their super-sensitive vibrissae get the job done. Alligators' love songs are inaudible to humans, but their infrasonic signals are seductive nonetheless. They have the power to shake the water and win hearts. All these adaptations, super specialized, highly effective, qualify these animals for the ranks of the Navy SEALs. In the wilderness, success demands vigilance and the right equipment. Some command the night with uncanny eyesight. Some follow their noses. Some depend on speed, stealth, and lightning-fast reflexes. Life in the wild is life during wartime, and these soldiers are always on patrol, geared up for their job as special forces. We start our search for a first-class patrol specialist in the scorching landscape of North America. This punishing Arizona desert is the proving ground for a survivor that's patrolled over the face of this planet for more than 400 million years. Scorpions. These special forces prefer things hot, but some carry on their missions through cold winters with no complaints. Wherever they go, they're shielded by their thick armor, or carapace. Their powerful pincers and venomous stinger assure they're always battle-ready. But when it comes to special ops, their built-in navigation system really gives them the edge. Scorpions on patrol navigate by the stars. They gather more detailed information through chemical sampling, smell, and vibration detection. On its patrol, a hairy scorpion, 15 centimeters long, can travel up to an impressive 100 meters in a single night. Though they're outfitted to take the heat, these special forces move mainly at night to avoid the scorching sun. And besides, the cover of darkness and their night sky navigation system helps them get the job done. A scorpion can have between 6 and 12 eyes on its back, depending on the species, and yet they don't see sharply. Their eyes are only sensitive to light's intensity. Some scientists believe that it's not just the eyes that pick up the light, but the whole exoskeleton, which might explain why these special forces glow in ultraviolet light. For zeroing in on their target, they get a boost from sensory hairs that pick up vibrations from several meters away. This one has locked onto the tasty vibe of a salifugid, a relative of the scorpion, without the toxic tail. The salifugid, finishing its own meal, unwisely approaches the patrolling scorpion. Triggering the scorpion's touch-sensitive hairs, he receives a fatal sting. Moving to Africa and the sandy desert of Namibia, we'll observe another series of scorpion patrol maneuvers. This Special Forces female leaves her scent wherever she goes. And the male tracks her with a pair of brush-like appendages called pectines on the underside of his body. As he walks, the male scorpion combs the sand with his pectines, sniffing for chemical clues. Females have pectines too, but the males are longer, and each tooth of the comb has more pegs to pick up scents. When the male catches up to the female, he uses his pectines to find a place to deposit his packet of sperm. This persistent male has successfully tracked down a female. Now he has to woo her. The courtship dance looks more like a battle, and sometimes the male resorts to stinging the female several times during the ritual. But when he's done, he'll deliver his sperm and be on his way. After this tiring mission, he'll return to his base camp, leaving the female to undertake the task of bringing up his offspring. To draft the next member of our Special Forces patrol team, we don't need to travel far. Every day, across the vast plains of the African savanna, countless life and death battles play out. To make it out here takes a special set of skills. In Kruger National Park in South Africa, a clan of ruthless predators have survival down to a science. Spotted hyenas. They're social, they're smart, and they patrol under a strict militaristic code of conduct to take down even formidable prey. Like any good Special Forces unit, every soldier has a rank and knows his or her role. The members distinguish each other by the spots on their coat. Each is unique, like a fingerprint, but the subtlety is just the start of their visual prowess. These patrollers have excellent night vision, assuring a good hunt even when the sun goes down. Because they work as a well-trained Special Forces unit, they don't shy away from hunting big game like zebras and wildebeest. The large herds of herbivores are especially vulnerable when the sharp-eyed hyenas stage their nighttime raids. On the hunt, spotted hyenas track their prey by sight, sound, and smell. Scent draws these Special Forces to the general area, but they depend on eyesight once they lock onto their target and move in for the kill. It's all eyes on the prey from all directions, waiting for the optimum moment to strike. But how do they see so well in the dark? A hyena on patrol uses built-in night vision goggles. A layer of tissue, called tapetum lucidum, reflects light back through the retina, increasing the light available to the photoreceptors. The tapetum lucidum increases night vision by more than 40%. While their prey sees total darkness, the hyenas see their target in range. When the target is locked, the hyenas don't give up. They chase and torment their prey to the very end. The exhausted wildebeest finds herself surrounded and outnumbered by the predators. Mission accomplished. Large prey is usually eaten on the spot, gobbled down before any competitors show up. But the hyena's night vision optics aren't perfect. Sometimes they give the game away. By reflecting and magnifying light, the tapetum lucidum sometimes shines back flashes in the dark, alerting the prey. Even so, by then, it's too late. Not all hyenas have the benefit of the clan. Some are outcasts, loners, forced to become thieves and scavengers. Unable to hunt big game, he relies on his night vision to patrol for small prey, or his sense of smell to find carrion. Tonight, he's crashing a honey badger dinner party. Living on smaller prey, he must eat more often, and during the day, he employs another visual technique to fill his belly. Rather than patrolling the plains, he scans the sky. Like flares, vultures circling a carcass signal where he'll find his next meal. Even without a clan, the hyena's reputation as a special forces warrior precedes him. All it takes is some aggressive posturing, and the vultures surrender the spoils. If the kill is large enough, he can eat up to 1/3 of his body weight, 15 or more kilos of meat and bones in one sitting. From the parched African grassland, we travel over the oceans to the woodlands of Europe. Here in the forests thrives another member of the Special Forces nighttime patrol, one that may even be surveilling your own backyard. In England, we're about to gather intelligence on one of these soldiers in the midst of his crucial mission. In his search for a mate, we find the hedgehog. These spiky, miniature armored tanks are favored in people's yards because of their search and destroy tactics on garden pests. They gather most of their patrol information through sharp hearing and superb sense of smell. They patrol with their warm and moist snouts, only a few millimeters from the soil, calibrated for the faintest aroma. These special forces can smell their prey from a distance of 11 meters above ground or 4 centimeters underground. The vomeronasal organ on their palate works in conjunction with their nose to detect more smells. That's paying off well for this soldier. His patrol has uncovered a small dead bird. The hedgehog can eat about 70 grams of food every night, which is more than 10% of his body weight. When the sun goes down, these special forces begin their patrol. In fact, they sleep for most of the day, either in their bunkers or tucked in a tight defensive ball. This little fellow is out to make love, not war. He's scouting for a mate in the dead of night. His range might span 20 hectares or more, and he'll sniff every centimeter to find her. Smells are picked up by their long snout with a large, moist tip called rhinarium. The smell is transported to the well-developed olfactory lobes at the front side of his brain. Compared to humans, hedgehogs are sense of smell geniuses. Our olfactory bulb makes up only 1% of our brain, while the hedgehog's makes up almost 10%. Thanks to these adaptations, they smell at a distance. And there she is, waking up in her burrow. Her range overlaps the male's. She's heading out to forage. She can patrol up to 2 kilometers in a single night. Driven by the urge to mate, the male won't give up until he completes his mission. Their encounter is inevitable, not just because of proximity, but because of scent. Both Special Forces agents are outfitted with scent glands. The male is about to deploy strong-smelling urine as a courtship pheromone. Once they meet, the hedgehog roundabout begins. He'll circle for hours, depositing a urine-like substance that keeps her in the courtship area. He'll mate with her several times to be sure he accomplishes his reproductive goal. Mission accomplished. When they're done, these tiny trackers will return to their solitary lifestyles. Leaving the woods of Europe, we track our next Special Forces patrol expert to the Great White North. Here in Canada's snow-covered forests, we search for a hunter who's swift and silent, and practically all-seeing. In these thick woodlands, the target of our quest has probably spotted us first. And when night falls, our hunter is truly in her element. Nature has bestowed the great gray owl with some of the sharpest vision in the animal kingdom. Her wide front-facing eyes give her broad, binocular vision and enviable depth perception for patrolling. But like most birds, she can't move her eyeballs, so instead, she turns her whole head. With a neck like a turret, she can rotate her head an astonishing 270 degrees. Though her eyes are her main patrol tool, her mission begins with her ears. Her hearing is so acute, she can hear a beetle at 30 meters, or a mouse squeak almost a kilometer away. Sound, then vision. Target locked and never out of her sight. Deep snow shields this lemming from an owl attack, but it better not get too confident. The surface offers no place to hide from the special forces. The owl's fringed feathers let her fly and glide in absolute silence. Her eyes, like a hyena's, have a tapetum lucidum, boosting her night vision. She gets what she came for and carries it to her perch. The field of vision for an owl is about 110 degrees, with about 70 degrees of overlap for seeing 3D. This is much lower than even our own field of vision, but the owl's large eyes, which comprise up to 5% of their body weight, are more efficient, especially in low light. Their eyeballs are actually cylinder-shaped, held firmly in the skull. The narrow field of vision is more than made up for when the owl rotates her head. Even though owls' eyes evolved for night patrol, their sensitive pupils allow them to see well in daylight too. One thing that owls don't see well is color. Instead, these special forces focus on motion. Sometimes patrolling is a day and night affair. As a mother owl provides for her chick, the mother might eat as many as 7 small rodents a day. And she'll need more to satisfy her little one. When she spies a chipmunk, her mission is clear. Though not for the chipmunk. Like a stealth bomber, she swoops in before he can even react. The owlet waits patiently till she brings the food to him, watching and learning. Despite their highly evolved vision and stealth, only about half their owlets grow to be special forces like their parents. Which only goes to show, in nature, as in everything, having the right tools for the job is not enough. It also takes talent. Our next nominee for Special Forces Patrol can fit in a teacup, but is a lethal assassin nonetheless. From the cold North American forests, we fly halfway around the world to a hot zone. The rainforests of Australia, a hotbed of predators that come in all sizes. In Daintree National Park lurks a hunter that does not have to go far to take down prey. On patrol in the branches, hardly seen, the praying mantis. Though this tiny trooper doesn't look so tough at the moment, she's smart enough to size up the enemy and know when to engage. And when to call a truce. She won't pick a fight she can't win. Mantids on patrol can turn their heads 180 degrees to scan surroundings with 2 big compound eyes flanking 3 simpler eyes. Unusual for insects, she has stereoscopic vision. The mantid's compound eyes are like clusters of thousands of smaller eyes called ommatidae. The dark spot on each eye isn't really a pupil, but ommatidae that absorb light rather than reflect it. Though she's only a few centimeters long, she can spot her prey from 15 meters away. Once these special forces lock their target, they either stalk their prey or, like this one, wait for the prey to come to them. When it's within 3 centimeters, the mantis pounces. She deploys her spiky front legs, snaring her prey faster than the naked eye can see. But now let's take a closer look into those super sharp eyes. Mantises have stereo vision. Their compound eyes contain up to 10,000 ommatidae. Only the center of this compound eye, an area called the fovea, sees sharply. The rest of the eye picks up motion. And when it does, the mantis turns its head and locks on to draw a bead with the fovea. The mantis immobilizes its prey with her legs like bayonets and eats it alive. Any smaller insect is fair game for these patrollers. Most species of praying mantis females eat their mates. Males outnumber females, but not for long. There are 16 families of mantids with over 2,400 species. All of these special forces share the ability to see, yet not be seen. Sometimes members of the same species can look different. They can be brown or green, depending on their stage of development and where they're secretly patrolling. In this jungle zone, it's all about camouflage. If a mantis lives in grass or leaves, you might never see her. If she's among the branches or hunting on the ground, she's equally invisible. Some species can even mimic flower petals. But these special forces don't get to choose their uniform. It comes standard issue. Unlike chameleons that can change color constantly, mantises do it only when they molt, so they have to hide in the environment they best resemble. Young mantises will molt as many as 9 times before becoming adults. After that, their color stays the same. By then, they've become expert assassins, tuned to their environment, always focused on their secret special forces mission, never losing sight of what they're patrolling for and well equipped to grab it. From the island continent of Australia, we cross the Pacific to arrive at a much smaller tropical paradise, where terror's also on patrol. On this remote island, a rule of nature seems to be turned on its head, and evolution has transformed a spineless creature into an unlikely special forces assassin. In the rainforest of the Hawaiian island of Oahu, a devoted plant eater has developed a craving for flesh and conducts guerrilla warfare against his prey. Lurking among the branches and leaves, we find the Eupithecia caterpillar. All over the world, thousands of this genus of caterpillar are devoted vegetarians, but not here. The Eupithecia is the only ambush predator caterpillar. Evolution has equipped this Special Forces Patrol expert with a hair-trigger sense of touch that deploys her sharp, practically inescapable claws. She has 6 pairs of simple eyes that can see light and maybe color, but no images. But they're practically an afterthought compared to her touch-sensitive skin. Fortune favors the well-prepared, and this cunning larva has done her homework. First, she selects her ambush spot and fastens herself to a leaf. And once in place, it's time to get to work. For the Carnivorous Eupithecia, foliage is strictly a construction material. She can't digest leaves and would starve to death rather than eat them. By trimming off the edge of the leaf, she's making a foxhole to hide in and launch her attack. She just needs to patrol patiently. This tiny terrorist doesn't care who she kills. Any small insect or spider will do, and the forest has no shortage of them. But there's one tasty target that's particularly abundant: fruit flies. This one suspects nothing. She has no clue she stepped into a minefield of Eupithecia. The prey is doomed the instant it merely brushes against one of the Special Forces' minuscule, sensitive hairs, or setae, on its back. The caterpillar springs backward, snatches the prey with her thoracic legs, or flings the victim into the air. In the same instant, the caterpillar snaps back to her original position. The entire strike takes about 1/12 of a second, faster than the blink of an eye. Hawaii has about 6 purely carnivorous species out of the 20 Eupithecia that live on the islands. Some of these special forces, instead of hiding on a leaf, camouflage themselves as twigs, but they're just as deadly. No matter how they patrol as caterpillars, one thing is certain. When they eventually turn into moths, the war is over. As soon as they earn their wings, they'll never touch meat again. An ambush predator has its place in the thick jungles of Hawaii. Our next Special Forces soldiers prefer aerial assault. For intercepting fast-flying targets, we head to Africa to enlist a squadron of airborne aces. This Air Force is stationed on riverbanks throughout the continent. Patrolling the sky is where we'll find the bee eater. His name says it all. Bees, as well as wasps and other flying insects, are all in his flight plan. His perfect sight and high-speed maneuverability provide a tactical advantage, allowing him to pluck his prey on the wing. Colonies of bee eaters nest in burrows in the riverbanks, strategically close to their targets. Where there's water, there are plants, and plants bring the bees. These are returning to their nest in the nearby acacia tree. They have no clue they are under surveillance by special forces. A bee eater zeroes in on a single target and won't let it leave his sight. Target acquired, the chase begins. This bird's flight suit simplifies his task. Starting with his flight goggles, the black stripe around his eyes work like sunglasses to cut glare. His eyes are geared for long-range and short-range reconnaissance. Some species of bee eater can patrol prey from as far as 100 meters. The bird's eyes have two fovea, or areas of concentrated vision. One sees distance, but only in 2D. As he gets closer, a slight turn of the head engages the second fovea for sharp, stereoscopic 3D vision as he swoops in to make the kill. When he's intercepted his prey, he takes it to his perch to dispatch it. If his captive has a venomous stinger, he deftly disarms it with a brisk beating. This carmine bee eater, like all bee eaters, swallows its prey whole. Mission complete. The bird returns to Special Forces headquarters. But the bee-eaters aren't the only warriors patrolling this airspace. An African fish eagle, a sworn rival, won't hesitate to start an air fight. He'll have to catch one first. Bee-eaters' retinas and perhaps their brains process information even faster than humans. That's what makes these special forces agile in catching prey and avoiding becoming prey. These bee-eaters, part stunt pilot, part ninja, outmaneuver the eagle and live to fly another day. While bee-eaters use speed and vision to patrol their realm, this next elite Special Forces recruit relies on subtlety and deception. He performs his wet ops below the surface, where the situation isn't as calm as it appears. The wetlands and canals of Florida are home to this North American ambush specialist. Where stealthily, silently lurks the alligator snapping turtle. With his tank-like armor, he looks as if he's more suited to defense than offense. But don't be fooled. With his keen senses of smell, vision, and touch, he's a triple threat. He just needs to pick a good spot to patrol. His rations include anything that crosses his path, including fish, reptiles, small rodents, and carrion. But it's these larvae-loving gambusia fish that he's best equipped for. 40 million years of evolution have provided him with a secret weapon. Inconspicuous on the river bottom, he closes in on his prey. By sampling molecules in the water, he's guided by his keen sense of taste and smell. Once in visual range, he settles in and waits. He opens his mouth, and the trap is set. The gambusia can't resist the larvae-shaped appendage dangling on the tip of the turtle's tongue. He has the fish just where he wants it. The turtle doesn't have to think about it or even see the fish. The slightest touch by the fish triggers a reflex. The turtle snaps down and swallows it in a fraction of a second. His jaws are powerful enough to smash another turtle's shell. And that's not just collateral damage. One study showed that 80% of alligator snapping turtles had turtle shell fragments in their guts. You don't want to cross these commandos. These special forces swallow the prey whole, reset the trap, and patrol for more. But despite his superior weaponry, the alligator snapping turtle is under siege and dying out as his habitat disappears. It's a fate the alligator snapping turtle doesn't share with his very distant cousin, the common snapping turtle, who often employs a different patrol strategy. The common snapping turtle stalks by sight. He spotted a cicada near his strike zone. He inches closer under the radar like a submarine to catch the insect unaware. He calculates the distance with his periscope eyes, and once in range, strikes. Lacking the tricky trap in his mouth, the common snapper has to rely on good old-fashioned stealth and keen vision. But both Special Forces snappers are equipped to patrol their ranges and accomplish their missions efficiently and ruthlessly. It's the common snapping turtle's great sensory toolkit, precision timing, active pursuit tactics, and better temperature tolerance that allows them, unlike the alligator snapping turtles, to thrive. When darkness settles in, the night patrol reports for duty, perfectly attuned to the gloom. Using starlight to navigate, the scorpion scurries over his range. As he goes, he gathers more detailed intelligence from vibrations and smells across the desert floor. Hyenas, patrolling in packs, never miss an opportunity and seldom lose sight of their target. Their jaws get the work done, but it's their remarkable reflective eyes that guide them. With equal dedication to his task, the hedgehog will pursue his mate over 3 kilometers. He doesn't need to see in the dark because his nose does all the work. Owls, masters of silent aerial patrol, rely first on their hearing, locking onto their rodent targets from up to 1 kilometer away. And once that target is in visual range, the owl never loses sight of it. Their specialized tube-like eyes give them an excellent field of vision and pinpoint depth perception. The ultimate patrol tool is invisibility, and some creatures come close to achieving it. The praying mantis blends right in, seeing all, but not being seen. She exploits her rare power of 3D insect vision thanks to her oversized compound eyes. The Epithecea caterpillar, equally deadly, relies on touch. A fruit fly triggering one of their setae is doomed in the 1/12 of a second. And the alligator snapping turtle gets rewarded for her patience, deploying her secret weapon to snatch any prey that takes the bait. For some, patience is a virtue. Others rely on speed. That's the bee eater. Able to spot its tiny, fast-moving prey at 100 meters, lock on and chase it down. These are the masters of patrol and pursuit. Each is equipped with features at the top of their class to nail their targets efficiently and effectively. When they report for duty, the job is as good as done.